Just like the Baroque period wasn't named the Baroque period until much later, the music of the 20th century doesn't really have its own name yet. It will be interesting to see what name develops. One possibility might be the shock of reality period. World Wars I and II, the Great Depression, the Vietnam and Korean Wars shocked humanity into new possibilities of violence and vulnerability. Modern technology such as cameras, radios, movies, and TV exposed the common household to wars and violence never before witnessed. 20th century music also 20th century music almost made such shocking changes in harmonies and subject matter that riots and protests broke out in music halls in France and the United States. Sounds that are now common in jazz and rock were often resisted with violence. Shock then became one of the goals of 20th century music. The music became much more percussive, dissonant, syncopated, jagged, uncomfortable, and often unresolved. From 1600 to 1900, music was governed by general principles based on major and minor sounds and form. Today, there are no real governing principles. For example, some of the music has no need for melodies or chord progressions. Composers would simply put tones together based on mathematical equations and see what popped out. This type of music is not exactly pleasant for me to listen to, but it is an interesting concept. Technology also made recording music possible. Aha, the beginning of the iPod revolution. Music no longer needed to be live and was available to everyone. Airplanes, trains, telephones, and recordings also made music from other countries much more accessible. Composers were now able to explore the sounds of formerly exotic places and cultures for new inspiration. Folk songs from countries in Africa and Latin America inspired new sounds and styles such as jazz and rumba. The unearthing and sharing of copies of medieval music supplied even more ancient sources for new rhythms and harmonies. Though World War II was a world tragedy, we in the United States gained treasures of musical genius from the anti-Nazi composers who emigrated here. Bartok, Schoenberg, Hindemith, Stravinsky, just to name a few. Of these so far, my favorite is Bela Bartok. Bartok's father died when Bartok was only 7, and his mother earned a living in Hungary as a schoolteacher. This single mother not only provided Bartok with hard-fought food, but taught him his first piano lessons as well. Having been a single mother and a piano teacher to my own three full-of-it sons, I know this was no easy feat. Bartok also became a teacher of music himself. Fascinated by the folk songs of the peasants in his native country, Bartok spent most of his free time as one of the world's first musicographers, recording these songs with the aid of a phonograph. He collected over 6,000 folk melodies. Bartok based much of his own music on the melodies and the rhythms he discovered among these backwoods people. Possibly because the peasant sounds were looked at as lower-class melodies, kind of like how jazz and blues were viewed in America for a long time. Bartok's music was widely lauded outside of Hungary, but not within his native country until much later in his career. Much of the peasant music that Bartok recorded dates back to times far earlier than Bach and has a definite Slavic Russian sound. The music has a much less strict adherence to beat and rhythm. Ancient music copied speech patterns and physical movements more. The slow movements portrayed the pessimistic and bleak lives of the poorer classes. Accents occur and meters change unexpectedly, at times creating an almost primitive, uncivilized atmosphere. Perhaps our own tragedies of the 20th century helped prepare us for Bartok's music, an audience that could better relate to the harsh realities and simple joys of life expressed through peasant folk music. I'm now going to play Bartok's 6 Romanian dances, which are based on some of the folk music he recorded in the dances he saw in Romania. Some of the music you will hear may sound strange, but these melodies just seem to get to you. I often hear my husband or my sons humming these melodies at home. My oldest son has even made requests for me to play that creepy song for him because the music is just interesting and sometimes haunting. I will pause between the first 4 dances, but for some reason that I have yet to discover, it is tradition to play the 5th and 6th dances one right after another, so I will not pause much between those last 2 dances.